Hi there. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sandy Zimmer, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today I'm going to show you the Good Life paper pack and sticker sheet. Now here is the sticker sheet, and here are some leftover pieces that I have from this paper pack. So as a close to my heart consultant, we have a preview period, so that allows us to get the products ahead of time. And although this paper pack is released in September, October 2023 to the general public, I've already had the opportunity to play with it for a month as a consultant. So I just thought I would show you what I have left over here. Look at that zip strip. And there's another one. And how to create something with just what you have left over. So there's a lot of wood grain papers in here. There's some graphic art sort of things in there. And I'm just going to cut off the zip strip off of these two pieces that I have left over here. Now there is a 1/2 inch zip strip in our paper packs. That does not take away from the 12 by 12 format. It's an extra 1/2 inch that you get. So once it's cut off, you're still left with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So I'm just pulling in a piece of white daisy cardstock just to use that to adhere my papers to. I'm pulling out my mat here just to help me figure out sizes and things. So I want to fill in that empty space there, and I'm going to use that brown wood grain paper. So I pull in my paper trimmer to cut that down. Trying to decide if I want to use the plaid or the wood, and I decide to go with the wood. And then I also decide that I want to use that little strip on the side there and cut that off and move it over to the other side of the wood grain. So again, I'm just pulling out my paper trimmer and trimming that down. And you'll see once I put it on that mat, you can see the measurements there. You could even screenshot it if you're interested in knowing exactly. Now I'm playing with the paper strips that are on, the zip strips that are left over. And there's this little piece of paper with the dots on it, and I decided I'm going to use that as a zip strip. So I'm just going to cut that down to 1/2 inch and trim that up so that I can use it to overlap where my two papers are joined. Now we don't have to overlap things where the papers are joined. It's fine to just leave it, but I sort of like that finished look. I'm also pulling in my sticker sheet here, and I really like the paper that was on that sticker sheet, and I'm going to cut that down to a 1/2 inch as well. So it's always good to remember that even though it's a sticker sheet, you can use it for zip strips or you can cut it up differently. And I'll show you a few techniques as we go through this paper pack here of how you can use that. So off camera there, I went ahead and I adhered those down. I'm going to put this Home Sweet Home over top of that windmill, I guess it's called, sorry. And just because it's just not something that I'm really wanting to use in this particular case, so I'm just covering that up. Here's a look at our zip strip, and the back of it shows you the colors that coordinate with the paper pack. So here I'm using coffee cardstock, and I'm cutting it down to 6 1/4 and rotating it and cutting it at 4 1/4. So those will be 2 mats that I'll use for a 4 by 6 photo. This piece I'm cutting down to 3 1/2 by 3 1/2, or sorry, 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I'll use that for a 3 inch photo. And then this other piece I'm cutting down to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, again to become another mat for a 4 by 6. And then later on I'll cut that other piece down to 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 for another 3 by 3 photo mat. So I'm just placing those on my background paper here. You can see that there are lines on that paper, so I will line them up against there. I flipped that over really quickly and just temporarily adhered it to that mat so that it doesn't move, and it will help me line up my papers to make sure that they're straight. Now our cardstock is dark on one side and light on the other. I decide to have the dark side up, and I'm lining it up against the lines of that background paper just to be sure that everything is nice and straight and it looks great when it's all finished. All right, now I'm just looking for some more stickers, and I'm really liking these banners. And I apologize that I didn't have the banners on camera there. They're a little bit off, but I will slow down the video here in a little bit and show you what it looks like. So I'm just grabbing my anti-static pouch and putting a little bit of that anti-static powder on the bottom of these banners, just so that I can still slide my photo underneath and it doesn't damage my photo. So just layering those up. And I'm grabbing my sticker sheet here, and I think I want to put some words up there. And I decide to go with the Better Together. I thought that looked really nice there. So in a moment here, you'll see me pick that up, and I'll just show you a close-up of it. So there we go. And I like how that original zip strip in the background there goes behind and still gives me that cluster of 3 almost banner looks. So I'm feeling like that page is pretty much done for the basics anyway. I may add some embellishments later on. So I flip that over, and I'm just using my Rub and Remove eraser. This is just great for removing that glue that I had put on there temporarily. And you'd never know that anything was on there. Next, I decide to use this full sheet of paper as my background. And then I'm trimming down that wood grain again just to cover up that windmill. Nothing against windmills, just didn't want it in this particular layout. So I'm just again putting down that paper strip there, lining it up with those lines so that everything looks good. You'd never know there was a windmill there. So I'm pulling off this leftover piece from my sticker sheet, and I'm thinking about putting it down, and I think it's only maybe 1/4 of an inch rather than a 1/2 inch. And so once I've got it down, I'm not really in love with it. So I do end up taking it off and then cutting down that sticker sheet again to another 1/2 inch. Now I've got some more of this dot paper, but it's not 12 inches long anymore. So I'm just cutting it into 1/2 inch strips, and I'm just going to piece it together here. So I glue some to the bottom, and I glue some to the top. And again, I'm just lining it up with that line. I need to turn it here just so that I can make sure that I've got it straight. And there ends up just being a small gap, and I decide I'm just going to leave that unless I need to fill it in later. I may just cover it up with some paper or an embellishment there. So there, that kind of looks the same, but like I said, I want to grab that sticker sheet and cut that down, that sticker down again, so that I have a 1/2 inch instead of just a 1/4 inch. So because I didn't adhere that one down too terribly hard, I'm able to pull it up quite easily, and then I'm able to put that sticker sheet back down. I really like the continuity of it on the 2 pages. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. And that piece that I just took off, I can just put on that background sticker paper so that I can use it for another project later on. Now I had used this little, I don't know if it's a milk can or what it's called really, and put it onto that little journaling piece. Again, there was a windmill there, so I used it to cover it up. And I have that little banner, so I decide I'm going to put that along the edge there. I like how that's kind of coming together. And I'm just playing with my photo mats here to decide how I want to lay this out. And here again is where I'm going down to cut it to 3.5 by 3.5 for another mat for a 3 by 3 photo. Just playing with the arrangement there. So currently I have 1 light side and 2 dark sides. I decide I want them all to be dark. So I flip that over. And you can see that that 4 by 6 mat is now covering up that little space that I had left over from my handmade zip strip. So I didn't need to fill that in at all. Again, I'm lining it up with the stripes on that paper. And then putting the 3.5 by 3.5 at the top and another one at the bottom. So if you're interested in any of these products, I will list them in the description, and you can go right to my website to pick those up. I decide I want the word family going down the side here. So I'm just carefully peeling these off and putting them down lightly just to make sure that that's what I want to do or how I want it to look. And I am actually liking it. They kind of look like little buttons in a way, and I really like that. And then I want to put another sentiment on here, but I decide that gather together should go between these two pictures instead. So I make the commitment and put that down there. I like this little truck, but I haven't quite decided where I want it to go. I feel like there it's kind of taking me off of the page and it's going to be my right-hand page. So I'm not sure that I want it there. So I decide to pick that up and I'm going to move it. I'm going to tuck this little barn in here, in behind. Still not really loving that truck there, so I pull that off and playing with where I want it to go, and I decide I want to put it at the bottom of that page. So it's kind of leading me towards that photo. Just playing with some of the other images here to figure out what I want to put beside that barn. I find that sentiment that says happy place. I'm going to put that on my journaling strip there. There's so many choices. So there are these little banners, but they go the other way. They have the pointed end. So I decide that I'm going to use them up at the top there. And again, I apologize, I'm off camera, but I will show you a close-up later. And I stack them up in the upper right-hand corner. So they're sort of pointing towards my photos because this is going to be my right-hand page, and I really like that. Now again, as I said before, this is a sticker, but that doesn't mean that I have to leave it on that rectangle. So I decide to sort of fussy cut this little bicycle out, and then I'm going to put that in front of my barn. I sort of feel like the sizes went a little bit better, and I really liked how they looked together. So again, you can see that's kind of covering up that windmill for me. And again, not that it has to, but I just didn't want it in my pictures. So there's these cute little buttons. So I decide to put those on those little banner strips as well. And you'll see that I have put those little buttons on another piece on the left-hand page a little later on. I decide to add that sticker that says Our Story and then family underneath. So I'm really liking how that's coming together so far. So there's my 2 pages so far. So again, I'm just lifting off that paper from my mat and using my rub and remove to get the glue off the back. And I decide that I'm going to add a little bit of interest by using my sepia marker here and just adding some stitches around some of these pieces. So I could have inked the edges of these as well, but I decided I'm just going to do some stitching just to kind of give it that country look again. And so there's where I have put those other 2 buttons. I really love those little buttons. And so I'm just going to use that pen around a few pieces just to sort of tie them all in. And again, I had used my anti-static pouch in the corner of that sticker so that my photo can slide in behind it. I'm also just doing some outlining here with my sepia pen just to make those words stand out a little bit better, pardon me, the gather together. And I'm going to do that around this journaling piece here as well. So sometimes these little pieces, these little touches are what really adds to your layout. So just keep in mind that you can do these little things like stitching or inking or drawing lines around the edges. So I really like how that's coming together. Now I think when I do my journaling, I might, in that little piece there that's on that water jug or whatever that is. I might put a word there for my journaling that sort of titles what it's about. And I went around those little banners. And I also just put my initials on there and the date so that I know when I created this layout. I always like to do that. Decide I'm going to add some stitches around that circle part around the barn. And then you will see in a little bit off camera, I go ahead and I put some photo placeholders on here in white, just so that you can sort of see where the pictures are going. I feel like that just helps you to sort of see it all come together a little bit better. So there's a close-up of the layout. Again, if you've enjoyed this, I'd really love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and tell me what you think about this layout, what you would change, what you enjoyed. And of course, in the description, I will have all the products listed, and you can go to my website and purchase these products. I appreciate anything that you purchase from me. It helps me to keep my little business going. Again, I'm Sandy Zimmer. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.